Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I always love these. Gonna get right into it. I think there's no other place to start with than Tesla. It's a crazy weekend for Tesla stock. Elon Musk, as pretty much everyone here is gonna know, tweeted out November 6th. So that is on Saturday. He tweeted out Saturday that he is considering selling 10% of his Tesla holdings, which have been rumored to be between 20 and 23%. I even saw 18% in there at one point. But he's going to sell 10% of that. More or less was asking the question in a poll, and the poll came out to say yes. So we have no clarity on exactly what's going to happen here, but it's definitely caused a lot of FUD. And I believe Tesla is opening up pretty far in the red today. I got to know it's going to open up down over 5%. I think that's definitely a combination of obviously the Elon Musk tweet and everything like that, but also how the stock has been performing recently, and basically the run up it has had. So I think that's just a combination of everything. It's probably we'll see what's going to happen with it. I have thoughts. He's definitely not going to sell the shares at one time. He's going to do. He's they're going to sell shares according to a predetermined schedule. I have the tense. I don't even want to embarrass myself and say it, but there's a specific filing like 105B-1 or something along the lines of that he's going to have to follow. That's going to happen. That's how they're going to sell it. They'll move on. Next story I have in front of me from this morning is AMC and Disney announcing a partnership, actually, which is interesting. So a lot of people know Disney has their event coming up this Friday, their Disney Plus event. They plan to announce a lot of things. A couple movies are going to Disney Plus, including Shang-Chi and a bunch of other stuff. So that's going to be a big day. They're trying to build more hype around it. So November 12th to the 14th, Disney plans to show four, in quotes, fan favorite movies back in more than 200 AMC theaters between November 12th to the 14th. They plan to show one movie, one popular film from the Disney Animation Studio, Pixar Animation Studio, Walt Disney Studios, and Lucasfilm. So there's going to be a wide range of the type of stuff that's going to be shown. They're going to show one movie per day from the 12th, 13th, and 14th. And tickets are going to cost $5, which is surprisingly cheap. It's going to come with a double-sided Disney Plus poster and a $5 drink, whatever cameo combo they called it from AMC. So I'd imagine all these are going to be sold out pretty easily. Just kind of the deal they're showing out there. Disney also came out and announced another collaboration with IMAX to upgrade the ratio or aspect ratio of some of the stuff on Disney Plus. I'm not a super technical guy. I have no idea what that's going to mean, but we'll see. But that was a headline. Another company in the news recently, and a lot this morning as well, is McAfee or whatever it is, ticker MCFE. This morning, shares were trading in that was halted due to pending news. And the news came out that they're set to be acquired and taken private at a valuation of slightly over $14 billion. That was according to Bloomberg. So that's happened. I believe it did move higher. It should be unhalted now, but who knows? I haven't looked. Then I also have in front of me, it does look like it's higher now. Also in front of me over the weekend, Coinbase is right around 2.5 million people on their NFT waitlist. We know they have earnings this week on Tuesday. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure they're going to talk a lot on that and give some clarity around that. Uber announced this morning they're working with Serve Robotics. They're doing a partnership to use Serve Robotics' autonomous sidewalk delivery robots on Uber Eats' platform. That's going to be tested in LA starting next year. Another big news from over the weekend was the roughly $1 trillion, I believe it was like $1.2 trillion infrastructure package that was passed by Congress. And I believe that is going to be on Joe Biden's desk to sign. I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but I believe it is on his desk fully now. Berkshire Hathaway also reported earnings over the weekend. I've always found it slightly strange that they report earnings on a Saturday, but truth be told, I kind of enjoy it in the grand scheme of things. This last couple of weeks have been so crazy. There's some days there's 20 companies that I watch or whatever that report earnings, so it can get a little crazy. So it's nice to have a little separation on that. They reported EPS of $2.87, which missed expectations of $2.99. Reported revenue of $70.58 billion, which missed expectations of $72.79 billion. So overall, it was a miss for Berkshire, a rare miss for Berkshire. A couple more numbers in it. They had $149 billion of cash and cash equivalents as of the end of Q3. So they still have a nice cash pile in there. And then they bought back a bunch of their own Berkshire shares. They bought back $7.6 billion worth of Berkshire stock in the quarter, last quarter. And then since the end of the quarter, which was September 30th to now, they bought back $1.7 billion worth of stock. So they are not slowing down in that department. I'll do one more quick overview of some of the stocks that report earnings today. I feel like Mondays, they normally give us a little bit more. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday tend to be the peak of earnings for the week. This week, it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We have PayPal coming after today's close. We have Roblox, AMC, Tencent Music, Zynga. So a couple of really big names in there. There's a couple other ones that I kind of crossed over. Those are the ones that just, jump out to me. But I think that's a decent coverage of the morning. I think that we are getting close to the markets open. So I'll throw it back to you, Gav. And yeah.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah, there's definitely some things to keep an eye out on. I put out also a tweet if anybody wants us to chart specific stocks. You can go ahead and just comment which stocks you want on that tweet. It's, I think, one of my last two tweets. Yeah, but much is to be made of Tesla, which has continued to go down as you were speaking, almost down 6% there. And, the rest of the market seems pretty healthy. I only see about three or four other names that are down: Celsius, Crowd, ARKK, which is probably being pulled by Tesla, but everything else, plenty of green. So Stock Talk Weekly, now that we're going right into market open, you were mentioning you hadn't seen a pre-market like this in a while. What's been standing out to you?
Really pre-market tends to be like theme powered, at least in my experience. And, you're kind of seeing some pretty defined themes fleshing out here. Obviously, a big one that, people are expecting with the infrastructure bill is charging infrastructure and charging stocks. Those are ripping in pre-market. EV goes up over 20% now. PTRA, I mean, that's not a charging stock. That's a EV bus stock. That's up 14.5%. You have ChargePoint up 13%. SNMP up 12.5%. NVVE, which is the parent of the joint venture with SNMP, that was up 12% earlier. I think it's still up 7 or 8%. So you're kind of seeing that EV charging infrastructure link to the infrastructure bill get really fleshed out early here. And then you're also seeing blockchain plays. Pretty much all the miners are up. And then another theme I think you're seeing is just in general, some of these alternative energy plays. PPSI, there was some EV charging news this morning. They're up 90%, and they're moving some sympathy plays with them as well. So there's a couple pretty defined themes, and that's what really drives pre-market volume. So that's what I'm watching going into the regular session. What tends to happen is they won't all play out over the course of the regular session, but a few of them almost certainly will. There's a lot of volume behind these names early, so I'm just keeping an eye on that as we go into the session here.
Quick thoughts, because I'm about to set my call on it. Thoughts on Airbnb right here?
Not a ton. I haven't looked at Airbnb in a while. I haven't looked at the chart well enough to really give you an opinion on that, to be honest.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm making the moves. I'm pretty done with it. Um, cool. Update done. All right, I am out. With that being said, Richard, I want to turn it over to you for market open. What stocks have, I know you do a lot of homework over the weekend. So what's on your radar right now? What are you watching? Or anything you're already making moves that you're eyeing?
Sure. And thanks again for having me on. So this week, obviously, a lot of this stuff I'm interested in actually reports the 9th or the 10th. Stuff like Coin, Bros, Affirm, some of the stuff I already own also reports. So I'm not really interested in making too many big moves until those earnings happen. But I am noticing that the crypto theme is strong. As Stock Talk Weekly, I think, mentioned, the EV related stocks are super strong. We're getting nice fall through on Lucid today, which I bought last Friday. So that's really good to see. You asked about Airbnb, and in my opinion, I mean, last Friday's bar was super impressive. It's a power earnings gap, super high volume, the highest volume pretty much since the IPO week. We do have that 1 week in May of 21, which was super high. I'm not sure if that was a secondary or whatever, But regardless, I really think there's institutional buying on Friday, and it's great to see fall through. What I'm watching here, because I do own some, I started some on Friday. I don't have a whole position. I didn't get that good of fill on Friday. I'm watching for some type of consolidation, pullback, maybe just even an inside day where I can manage my risk better against the low of the day or something like that, under 5% to add to my position. But I think if the market stays right, this could really start a really nice trend up the right-hand side and try to challenge those all-time highs. So I like Airbnb. I think the theme is super simple and easy for people to understand. And the earnings growth, revenue growth, that's super strong as well. So this is definitely a focus for me going into the end of the year. And yeah, that's kind of my take on Airbnb. But other than that, crypto, SI, coin, those are names I'm really interested in. And I'm really looking forward to the coin earnings and to see if that can really spark something, or if it goes the other way, that's all right too.
Yeah, I think coin looks pretty interesting here. I was looking at some charts with Exclusive this morning, and he was showing me, I guess, his price targets. So looking like 380 on the price target, and it currently is breaking through. I guess 352.28 was his pivot. So I guess it's not there quite yet. But yeah, coin is looking pretty interesting. What about Bros?
Bros. So yeah, this stock is one I'm focused on. Actually, I started position back in the IPO base around 50 and then added through, I forget the exact cost, but I am out of it at this moment. But I'm definitely watching this one as well. Earnings coming up. I think the story is really excellent. Excuse me. And yeah, I'll be watching this one carefully. You do have a DTL, a descending trend line here. And right now it's just trading pretty tightly. I don't think I'll make any moves before earnings on this one, just waiting for that certainty because IPOs are a little bit more volatile, but definitely you could potentially buy it through. There's a little bit of a pivot at 68.54, and it's kind of getting back within a range it was back on the 27th, and that level is also around 68. So there's a little bit of confidence here, and I did like the quick pullback it had down to the 61 area, or actually 64 level on Friday, and then a nice response from that, regaining that range. So there's definitely some signs of accumulation in there. The push up the right-hand side was super strong, but at this moment, I'm just kind of waiting and seeing how earnings turn out.
Got it. Got it. Gerg, I want to bring you into this. Would love to hear, what's on your watch list for today. And then also I see you tweeting about the Lucid puts.
Yeah, what's up? No, I don't have puts. I'm short the position outright. And I have some December 40th calls. 45 is my max loss till December.
What?
But I have no puts. Just, yeah.
Why is that your max loss?
No, I have 40th calls, right? So I can buy back at 45. Even if it goes to $60. So I have a short position and I have calls for 45 as a hedge. So even if it goes to $50, I can buy it back at 45. So
Here. Are you?
but that yeah.
So what else are you looking at today?
Oh, great, pretty busy week. So let's see, let me open my watch list. So for this, Palantir is like my biggest long-term play. They have earnings Tuesday, and usually Palantir loves to tank. So if you look at last four earnings, three of them it was down 7% pre-market, and it ended the day close up 8 to 9%. So Palantir, I love to buy the dip right after the earnings. The next thing is SoFi. They have earnings this Wednesday. I do have a core position at $20. I would like to hedge that and buy some calls to the upside because expect news on the bank charter. One new place Affirm, AFRM. And if you look at the last three earnings, they moved around 20%. Last one was green, but other three were all red. So I love to play both sides in Affirm on each and every earnings. I would like to play that today or tomorrow and make money off the IV and sell half of the earnings. Next is Snap. So Snap was way oversold after the earnings report, down 30%, but it's building a good support at 52. So I'm adding to the position almost every day at $52. And the next thing is I'm buying BRPM, the face pack. I think stock market news is loading up on that too, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. I've slowed down a tiny bit, but I plan to do more.
Yeah, I won $10, right? At $10, it's almost zero risk. It being a SPAC at NAV, I won $10 on that. So I will open a big position.
Got it. Got it.
And Lucid, of course, yeah.
Stock Talk Weekly. Are you, I guess, what SPACs are you eyeing today? Are you in also on PRPM?
Yeah, I have a bit of PRPM. My cost is pretty close to 10, so I think I'm down like 1% on it. So it's not really like a bag, I guess. I mean, technically I'm down on the position, but it's not really that big of a position for me. I'm kind of waiting for us to get closer to merger, which is going to be a while away. So I'm not too focused on BRPM right now. Today I'm looking mainly at the alt energy and EV infrastructure plays. I think those are what's going to get the most attention today. And I mean, they already have been in pre-market. I'm looking at Lucid, potentially going to day trade some of the levels there. I'm waiting for it to set up some intraday supports before I make any decisions. I'm looking at some of the Bitcoin mining plays. I'm looking at Miji and BitF. Those are my favorite ones, probably. Miji's up nicely right now at open, but the volume's still not there. I also picked up Pola in pre-market. That one's already winning for us. I picked it up at like 580 something. It's trading 655 now, ripping. So that's a sympathy trade I picked up earlier. That's pretty much all I'm watching right now. I'm just kind of keeping my eyes on seeing if there's any big runners that emerge and kind of separate themselves. And if there are, then I'll look for sympathies for those. That tends to work really well on days today where you have like really good breadth in the volume and you have a lot of different runners. Sympathy plays tend to work really well on days like this. So that's probably what I'm going to be focused on today, is just looking for sympathy runners to the primary plays. Polo was our first one, but I probably have one or two more by the end of the day.
What was the ticker for that?
Pola, Pola. It runs PPSI traditionally. We're seeing PPSI up 100%, so I figured it would drag it. We picked it up under 6 in pre-market. It's pushing 650. Again, I don't expect it. I always say this about sympathy trades. I don't expect it to have the same magnitude of the move as PPSI, but I mean, if PPSI keeps going, it can go further too. So that's what I'm keeping an eye on. They tend to, historically, I've traded both of these names a lot. Once you've traded sympathy plays over and over and over again, you kind of just immediately know. Like when I saw PPSI blowing up in pre-market, I didn't even really hesitate. I just bought Pola instantly. Once you know these relationships, you just like, okay, it either goes or it doesn't go, and like, obviously if I'm controlling my risk on these plays, like my downside is, okay, it hits my stop and I get out, no big deal. My upside is the sympathy kicks in, which it just did. And then you get, good, decent upside. I don't think I'm going to cut all of it here. I took a tiny bit, but I'm going to leave most of it to run and just see what PPSI does. So I always watch the primary runner when I'm sympathy trading.
Makes sense to me. Evan, you want to get back in on this? Anything that you're watching or any names that you want to chart?
I would maybe love to get some thoughts on Palantir, maybe before earnings, what we think could happen heading into that. That definitely would be one. Maybe thoughts on NVIDIA as well, if anyone has that. That one's obviously been ripping recently. And then I think those two are good for now.
Richard, do you want to hit on those?
For PLT, was it PLTR before earnings?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually like how this is shaping up in terms of the chart. Obviously, the earnings can go either way, but in terms of the chart, there's a lot of big up volume within this base, the long-term consolidation. And I also like how if you draw an anchor VWAP from the all-time high, which is 127.21, we're now decisively sitting above that and forming a nice little tight area above that. So I think it looks set up into next week. We could definitely get a gap and go move, but I never hold through earnings or buy preemptively before earnings, just expecting it to gap up because it can easily go the other way, like with Snap. For me, if a stock is going to go up 100, 200, 300%, there'll be plenty of entries after that gap up to get in. So that's kind of my philosophy with earnings, but I think PLTR definitely want to watch for a power earnings gap potentially. It has been basing for, what is that, almost an entire year now. So Yeah, the story is really interesting. The numbers are interesting. And I think this is definitely a stock that's kind of involved in a lot of themes. Obviously, data and AI that are going to be themes going forward for the next decade. So definitely a stock I'm interested in, and I'm watching basically how it acts and reacts to earnings later on the 9th.
And then I think he had a second one in there too.
Yeah, what was the ticker?
NVIDIA?
NVIDIA. Yeah, so this and Tesla have been super extended, but they're also kind of the institutional quality leaders in my mind. And I mean, the rate of ascent has increased for sure, but it's also not breaking down. It's holding a nice inside day so far today. I would love to see it just kind of flag out even the next few weeks, and then kind of reconfirm and break out through these highs. But I definitely don't want to see it undercut the 11.4 day last Thursday, where it was the highest volume ever the last 250 days. That would be definitely a negative sign for this stock, as well as, in my opinion, the rest of the market. But if it holds near that close Friday, just goes sideways, drifts low on lighter volume, definitely very constructive. I don't have a position. I missed this in an AMD. Definitely a mistake on my part. But this is one of the strongest stocks in the market right now, and definitely in terms of the institutional quality liquid leaders, this and Tesla are right up there on the top of the list.
Love it. So I'm looking at coin still real quick, and what I'm watching right now is just a couple of scanners for essentially large institutional positions coming into some of these names that we're talking about, and they are piling into coin this morning. And a couple of things I look for is sweeps versus blocks, meaning that the institutions are just trying to rush things in. So they're saying, listen, I want to get it right away at this price, promotes urgency, and they are just sweeping into the coin calls right now. I mean, I just saw the two that stand out to me are two just came in. I'm assuming this is basically the same buyer. They just came in for December 17th, $400 strikes at over $1 million of premium. And also over $1 million of premium came in for January 330 strikes, and over $1 million and over $2 million of premium for January 2022. I guess those are all three of January 2022, $3 million of premium at in the money strikes. So pretty crazy to see two out of the million. Any thoughts, Stock Weekly, on coin right now?
Yeah, I think it's a good environment for coin to be moving. It's not a company that I particularly am, in love with fundamentally, but it's a runner that's going to continue to have a relationship to Bitcoin and to the crypto sector. And so, when you're seeing all these mining plays move and the sentiment be really strong as we're seeing today with really, really good breadth and volume. I mean, Bitcoin's not ripping this morning. I mean, it's still sitting at that 65 level, but just having got there over the weekend seems to have driven a lot of sentiment into these plays. My Bitcoin miners list, every single play is green right now. So, even on a good day, typically there's a handful, 5 to 6 to 7 of these plays that are either muted or not running, but these are all up, at least 2 or 3%. Some of them are up double digits. Mara and Ride are both up double digits now. So, you're seeing good sentiment, and, I think that'll drive liquidity to coin and, some of the other larger cap names that are associated. I haven't looked at the MSTR this morning, but I imagine that it's up, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's up 6%. Yeah. So, I mean, you can expect these things, right? Like when sentiment in a sector is like really obvious, like it is right now, for a lot of these, EV charging, some of these alt energy plays, blockchain plays, infrastructure plays, like the themes are to me really, really apparent right now. And it's very early in the session. So, typically when you have this many themes running, it's not sustainable to have overwhelming volume in all of them. So over the course of the regular session, you're going to kind of see the market pick one or two of them and go from there. But, for now, there's a lot of trading opportunities on the table, like a lot of them. I would say there's probably 30 or 40 small and mid cap stocks that you can trade like right now. So it's really good for day traders. It's good for sympathy traders. that are taking advantage of the situation. I don't expect it to last the entire session, though. I think that by the end of the session, a lot of these names will get flushed out, and you'll have a handful of winners for the day. But right now, the volume's trying to figure out where to go. I'm kind of just staring at my volume sheet right now, trying to see where I think it's coming. But right now, I mean, these names are still ramping up on volume. The vast majority of them are still ramping up on volume from pre-market, and so sentiment is good. I like what I'm seeing.
Love it. Richard, I wanted to come back to you, and then Gerg going. Oh, well, actually, I see Sarge as well. Hey, Sarge, what's going on?
Hey guys, how you doing? Just a couple things. NVIDIA has their GTC 4-day conference starting today and going through Monday. Jensen Huang's keynote address is tomorrow morning. AMD has a data center premier event for today, so you're going to see news come out of those two names. I'm day trading Tesla. I'm probably going into PayPal long tonight. Alcoa and Cleveland Cliffs are my infrastructure names for today, and Disney is probably the trade of the week, in my opinion, with earnings on Wednesday night and the big event on Friday as far as Disney Plus goes.
I love Disney as well, Sarge. I think that's a great play for this week. I hate binary events and hate playing earnings, but Disney is a company that I love. I think they're dramatically undervalued versus their peers, especially if you're treating Netflix as a peer of theirs. I think they're dramatically undervalued. So I like that pick, Sarge.
Thank you.
Sarge, when you say day trading Tesla, what's your strategy there?
Right now, I'm long. I'm not going to take a shot from the short side, so it's not real day trading. I'm probably just going to be getting in and out of trades today if they work. Right now, I'm long. Where am I long? 11.69. So I'm down $4 on this tranche, but I had a winner this morning before the opening. I'm basically going to be. I probably won't leave myself with a position overnight on any day this week because I think we're probably at a crossroads here. As far as the chart has probably just become too extended. And if Elon is going to sell all these shares in order to cover his tax bill, well, then probably the wealth is going to be spread out to the Lucids, to the new investors in Rivian this week, and maybe even to Ford if I get a little lucky.
Interesting. So with Lucid there, what's your thoughts around it?
I like that stock. I guess technologically, it's probably the leader, even above Tesla, although it doesn't have the scale, and it's not going to be the industry leader because it's really a luxury brand. But Lucid is probably if I had to have a favorite EV name, it's probably my favorite actually. I just like I like the way the firm presents itself, and I think they will try to move downward in the kind of a consumer that they're addressing at this point. At some point, I think in order to compete better, but I think they're moving in the best direction. I think they have the best engines and the best batteries at this point.
Awesome. Interesting. I'm definitely going to continue to keep my eye on them. I actually did pick up a little bit of Tesla on this dip. Not a ton, but just waiting to see what happens because it seems to be having strength towards moving backwards. I'm also looking at the volume coming in on it. It's nothing insane just yet. The call, usually the premium actually is greater on the call side than the put side, but obviously today I can see why I would lean towards the other side. I'm also watching Lucid, which is having, I think, a good amount of, a lot of bullish call volume coming in on Lucid. Just actually a ton, especially if you're looking at these short term, these November 12th, November 19th. Just plenty of people coming in and plenty of sweeps, which is interesting to see. Definitely people are trying to catch the runner here.
Well, force the runner, right? A little gamma squeeze.
There you go. Exactly. Cool. Richard, wanted to come back to you real quick with a couple of these names. So I know that you had talked about more earnings setups. Did you want to share a few more of those?
Sure. So a few stocks I'm watching into earnings here. One of them that hasn't really been mentioned here is Gdrx. And I think they're really interesting just based on how the chart is. They're kind of in a phase, an overall pattern that I really like, where they've had this longer term primary base, and now they're setting up and starting to move up the right-hand side. So there you've got some pivots around 45, 47, and that would get you above the kind of current consolidation it's in. It's a little bit wide and loose here, and it's not a leader in terms of numbers, but I think the story is really interesting. And that's what I'm watching for sure. Earnings are the 10th. A few others I'm watching, I've already mentioned Coin, Bros, Affirm, which is actually doing really well today as well, breaking out into all-time highs. That's great to see. SoFi is one I'm watching for sure. Short-term extended in terms of price, but it's gone sideways the past 5 days or so. And this has also got earnings on the 10th. Task is another one that's been super strong recently, but is now basing, that has earnings the 10th. And also Unity Software, which is breaking out today, also has earnings the 9th. So it seems like everything has earnings the 9th or 10th for me, everything I'm interested in. Oh, and I can't forget UPST, which I think is definitely one to watch. Obviously a super strong stock, but now it's pulling back on declining volume. Looks like sellers are kind of drying up a little bit. And yeah, I'm really interested to see how they report. Obviously, there's a lot of growth expected. So it's all about expectations, the reaction to earnings versus the actual earnings itself. But if they can continue to blow it out of the water, I think this is definitely a stock to watch for a gap and go move, but also be prepared and manage risk always, because gap and goes can turn quickly. And yeah, they can start kind of selling like we've seen with Snap and all of that. So always keep that in mind. But yeah, so many stocks are reporting the 9th and 10th for me this week. Roblox actually this after today, I believe the 8th is also one I'm watching. But yeah, those are definitely a few.
So how about AFRM here? What the hell is going on? Just more all-time highs?
Yeah, I mean, leaders keep leading, right? That's kind of the philosophy I use. But I think there's so many signs on the chart that institutions are accumulating the stock. The first are these huge gap ups on 45, 50 million shares, and that's of a 96, $100 stock at that time. So that's not retail buying. That's not as people say, your Aunt Betty buying. Those are institutions buying. And from there, it's been a powerhouse. So many innovations coming through, and also you've got that breakout on 10-6, kind of reconfirming everything with another huge bout of volume. So the kind of elephant footprints are really apparent on this chart, and you can also see the overall step up in volume from within its base in the June area to now. You can see the average volume has increased to about $8-10 million a share versus back then about $3 million a share. So there's just overall more institutional involvement with this name. It's become more liquid. Earnings are, well, not earnings, but sales are really strong. And yeah, I think that the theme is something that a lot of people are becoming interested in: buy now, pay later. And everything's kind of come together. But obviously, we'll have to see how earnings come out, because definitely they could miss expectations and this could gap down, or it could start another huge push upwards if we do get really strong earnings.
Appreciate that. And then Richard, I know that you put out your stock of the week was SI.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So my stock of the week article, which is my Substack, which I'll link above, and just after I finish talking, is analyzing a setup from the prior week and how you could have executed. It's not a setup going into the next week. It's kind of teaching you how I view the market, how I find setups, routines, processes, execution. And yeah, I wanted to highlight kind of inside week and up setup, which is when you go to a weekly chart and all the range of the current week is contained within the range from high to low of the previous week. So what that is on a shorter time frame is a volatility contraction. And when this occurs in an overall super strong weekly chart like we had with SI, where we had this long base after a super strong uptrend in 2020, this can produce really powerful moves when the stock breaks out through the high of that inside week. So last week, that pivot of that inside week was around 163, and those can produce some really powerful returns. And if you can catch it when it's breaking through that first pivot, you could basically have managed risk right at that low of the day, less than 3.5%. So for me as a swing position trader, that's excellent risk reward for a potentially leading stock in a leading industry group, showing a lot of accumulation within the space. So yeah, that's a super quick run through of SI. But yeah, I definitely encourage, if you want to learn more about it, it's a completely free article. And I've also done kind of similar articles about earnings gap up setups, I forget the other one, IPO basis with Bros. I walked through my trade of Bros. So yeah, definitely check that out if you want to know more about, kind of how I view the markets, how I like to identify and trade setups.
100%. All right, Gur, I'm going to you real quick. Any short interest or anything like that standing out to you?
Yeah, I have 2 plays, but I can't talk about them just now.
Right, you're going to drop them later in your Discord?
Yeah. No, on Twitter only, around noon or 1 p.m., but let's see.
Okay.
I will DM them to you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I won't share them. I appreciate that. Awesome. Okay. All right. So I want to go in back with you, Stock Talk Weekly, or with Evan if you have anything. But real quick, before I do that, we have almost 1,000 people on here. If you're not already following these speakers, you probably are because they brought you to this space. But this is like cream of the crop right here, and some of my favorite people to talk with. You know, in the mornings when we're live trading, we're trying to get info. I'm DMing them all the time, trying to ask, what's your thoughts on this, and you know what? They're great people. They spend a lot of time in the DM. So Stock Talk Weekly, Gerg, Richard, Sarge, Evan, really deserving of your follows. All people that I'm following, I think they make my timeline 100% better. So I highly recommend checking them out because you're here anyway, so you might as well scroll through. You're probably going to see stuff you like right off the bat on their timelines. They're all very well-educated people. Additionally, if you are enjoying these Twitter Spaces, I'm going to be hosting at least 10 Twitter Spaces this week. If you go to the Wolf account, it's a pinned tweet. I put out a full schedule. If you don't want to have to keep track of each little one, I've made a real easy system where I have a shared Google Calendar. There are now over 600 people on this Google Calendar. All you have to do to get on it is just DM me your email and ask to be on the calendar. That is it. I will add you to the calendar. It is no cost. Your information is not shared. And you'll be able to see, just toggle on and off on your calendar whenever a space is so that you won't be missing them. Again, we're doing 10 this week, covering so many different areas from fundamental analysis, technical analysis, crypto, and just like little bits of everything else, earnings. So that'll be really good. In addition to that, I have a newsletter, as well as my co-host, Evan, has a newsletter. And if you want those, you can just ask to be added to the calendar and the newsletters in the DMs. But yeah, that's something I'm looking forward to. Evan, did you want to make any comments before I go to Stock Talk Weekly?
Yeah, just 2 things I want to make clear about it. Well, I guess 3 things. First of all, I want to reiterate, make sure you're following all the speakers. Every single person we have up here is an amazing, really informative person that knows what they're doing. They speak really well on spaces, and their tweets are just as amazing, so you definitely want to click into their profiles. The Google Calendar, you guys are all in here, which means you clearly enjoy spaces. So I think it's just a must. Wolf's putting on 10, 12 a day, a week. Sorry, not a day. That would be ridiculous. And it's just, I think that Google Calendar is a must if you want to be in these and get, all the information from them. And yeah, just when you send those emails to Gav, just make sure you include your email to make it as easy as possible for him. I know he's been having to go through so many of them. So many people want to get on this Google Calendar because it's that valuable. But just, send over your emails, make it as easy as possible for him. And I really appreciate you for doing it.
100%. All right, Stock Talk Weekly, going back to you. I see Lucid having a bit of a pullback here. I think some of the crypto plays are, I'm looking at like Hut 8 Mining, Mara, Riot. They're, traversing sideways a bit here. A lot of times we just hit the 10 a.m. mark. And a lot of times what I like to tell people is, it can be really fun to trade a lot in those first 30 minutes, but those are just crazy volatile. And if you're a beginner investor, sometimes it pays to come in more around 10, where you've now seen the initial price action. You can make a decision based off it. So seeing initial, price action, is there a direction that you're looking to go towards today, Stock Talk Weekly?
No, I kind of just play the price action that comes to me. When you have this many pre-market runners, there's going to be a bias towards thinking that they're all going to continue during the regular session. And like I said earlier, that's just not the way it works. You need volume sustenance. So some of these that were able to be, 20, 30% runners in pre-market off of, what is relatively low volume, now when the market opens and you see this flush of regular session volume, the bid ask gets more competitive, and the higher quality runners or the higher sentiment runners are the one that are going to stick. So you're seeing, some of those names from earlier kind of flush out now. Like you said, with the Bitcoin mining plays, some of these are kind of trading sideways now that were ripping earlier, but it's also only 30 minutes into the regular session. So I'm not making any big judgment calls yet about what's going to be the hot sector for the day. But this is going to be a day where I'm going to be day trading a lot. I've already pulled the trigger on a couple trades. in pre-market today. That's why I wasn't tweeting as much as I normally do in pre-market. I still put some out, but yeah, I was trading a lot in pre-market today, and I think I'll probably be trading all day today by the looks of things. There's enough volume in enough different places to get some day trades off. So that's what I'm looking to do. I haven't made any assessments about what I think is going to be the hotter sector going forward. Mara and Riot look like they're showing some relative strength compared to the rest of that Bitcoin mining sector. I see Can kind of picking up now too. The alt energy plays are kind of getting more concentrated. It's really around the EV charging plays. There's a couple of these fuel cell hydrogen type runners. You got F cell, ENG. You're seeing some of these metals pick up now, some of the lithium stocks. So there's kind of just a broad, electric vehicle / infrastructure sentiment that we're seeing. I don't know, what it's going to end up focusing on, but that's really why I continue to monitor volume and see, like, where is the volume enthusiasm at? Where is the bid enthusiasm at? Like, which of these plays are not becoming as affected by, the influx in volume? People tend to believe, more volume is always a good thing. It isn't necessarily, especially when you have these thin pre-market runners that, we're moving off a couple 100K volume. Regular session opens up, they get a couple million volume, the bid ask becomes dramatically more competitive, and like you need genuine enthusiasm on some of these plays to keep them running. So yeah, that's what I'm doing, just continuing to monitor volume. I'm going to be a very volume based trader on days like this, and so yeah, that's just my game plan going forward. I'll know more as we get closer to lunch on what my assessment of things are.
For those who are listening to this strategy, you might want to emulate it. Where are you looking at the volume, and kind of, how, I guess, are you keeping track of so many different ones with that?
So I have a watch list of a lot of names. I'll use a scanner typically if I can't find a day trade opportunity and I'm looking for one, then I might use a scanner. But in cases like this where, my own watch list, people who have been on these sessions before, I've talked about this many times, but, I trade off of a kind of in an old school way, I guess, but off a master watch list organized by sectors. So I constantly monitor that. So I'm just going over to my, any brokerage app really will have volume. So I'm just looking at basic volume and just watching it and, seeing where the influx is. Like, are some of these names sitting at, the same relative volume for an hour straight? Those to me aren't suggestive of runners. Or are there sympathy plays that aren't getting enough volume based on the primary runner? That's another spot I look for opportunity. You can also look for, the pace of volume. So, an easy way to do it is if you're a newer trader, you can use a notepad. I kind of just do it in my head, after having done this for a decade. But for newer traders, you can, just get a notepad and, mark down. If you're trying to watch the volume ramp on a runner, you can get a notepad and mark down, okay, this stock had 100K volume at market open. An hour in, that volume's 150K. 2 hours in, that volume's 200K. Whatever it is, I'm just using examples, but you can assess volume ramps that way and see, like, is there a consistent inflow of volume? And despite that consistent inflow of volume, you need to look at the price action as well. You can't just look at the volume. So if you're seeing a volume inflow and the price is not responding positively to the volume inflow, then, you could potentially have one of those plays that fizzles out, opens at 100% and fizzles out and closes the day plus 12 or 13%. But in the cases where you're seeing a volume inflow and the price is responding positively and you have a good technical setup, those are usually good candidates for runners through the regular session. So again, there's a number of ways to analyze it. But if you're a new trader, don't be afraid to bust out a notepad and a pen, or even do it on your phone, whatever way you prefer note taking. I mean, I don't know, people are different, but don't be afraid to do that. If you're a new trader who doesn't know how to trade volume, like, just starting simple is the way to do it. Just learn how to analyze volume inflows and be sure to study how volume inflows or outflows are affecting the price. And, if you want a more intimate view on why that's happening, look at your level 2 data. I look at my level 2 data constantly anyway, but if you are trying to analyze why and how price action is reacting to volume, your level 2 data is a great place to do that. You can kind of see on these volume influxes, how it's responding, and that'll give you a better idea to see, okay, if I expect this volume ramp to continue over the regular session, I can expect this price action to continue. But it's really an educated guessing game, just like anything else. Like, volume is my favorite indicator, if you will. Wouldn't even really consider it an indicator. It's more so just a characteristic of a stock. But it's my favorite thing to look at when I'm trading. But it's not just like anything else. Certain new traders love RSI, certain new traders love MACD, or whatever it is. But I'm always very hesitant to over depend on a single piece of data, whatever that might be. So I try to look at more than one thing.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense to me. And I'm about to go to Peter because I saw he popped in, but two others real quick for you. So IonQ seems to be the gift that keeps on giving, as well as XPDI, which I actually really like this XPDI setup right here as it's forming a bit of a base. Just your thoughts on those two real quick?
Yeah, I've liked XPDI for a while. I put a big chunk of change in there when it was trading at 10. It's done very nicely for me. I'm up, 40% on that position without even having to really think. It was just kind of sitting in the background. It was one of those NAV protection bank account plays that I talk about very often on my feed, where you have effectively zero risk when you're buying them at $10. Well, you literally do have zero risk because you can redeem your shares at that price anyway. But yeah, so XPDI, I liked, at these prices, is it still a value? I think so, but it's going to trade very similarly to a lot of these Bitcoin mining stocks that are, not necessarily responding to the absolute moves in Bitcoin or the absolute appreciation of value in Bitcoin, but they're responding to the, intraday or weekend strength, which is the way they've traded for, well over a year. So I try to use those as my gauge for when I want to trade those names. What was the other ticker you asked about, Kev?
IonQ.
Oh yeah, IonQ, love that one. We've been pounding the table hard on IonQ when it was traded in the 7s and 8s. Even when it was trading at 10, I mean, I was really, really kind of screaming at people saying, like, look, there are no pure plays on quantum computing that can compete with, your Apple, your Google, your Microsoft, your Honeywell. There were zero pure quantum computing plays that compete with those companies. And IonQ coming on the market now, fundamentally on paper, is it overvalued? Absolutely, right? But so many of these names are. I mean, it's trading near a 4 billion cap on 15 million in revenues. I mean, that's fundamentally the story's not there. But a lot of times, especially with these emerging industries, the market doesn't really care if the fundamental story's there. It really just becomes a supply demand equation. It really just becomes a matter of, are there enough publicly traded competitors for people who want exposure to any given industry to buy into? If there are, you're going to see more dilutive price action, and it's going to be a lot harder to get these multi-day runners. But in the cases where there aren't, like in quantum computing or in some, space sectors of the space and satellite industry, like when you don't have public competition, whether or not you have private competition, it becomes a supply and demand equation effectively for a lot of these and names. And you're going to continue to see some of them trade that way. I think IonQ needs a correction at this point. I mean, I had good faith and very high confidence that it was going to rip a lot higher than 10. I did not think it would get, to 20 plus within, it was trading in the 10s just in October 26th. So it's been just 2 weeks since then, and we're double. It's trading up over 100% from those, well over 100% from the lows from late October. So, I expect there to be a correction there. I don't know when it's going to happen. If the market keeps running this hot with speculative plays, it might not happen for a while. But that's a name I love long term. It's stowed away in my IRA. I'm not touching it for a long, long time. So it's nice to see this price action. Everyone likes seeing the unrealized gains on their account go up, but that's not a name that I'm looking to sell equity on for years. Again, I'm playing optionality on there to generate income. So, covered calls, cash secured puts, whatever seems appropriate to me at the time. But that equity position I won't touch for at least 3-4 years.
Got it. Appreciate the insight there. Okay, I'm going to go to Peter, and also a reminder for everybody, stick around because we still have some really fun segments that we do, including our play of the week, where we're going to discuss with all of our panelists, and we're going to decide, myself and Stock Market News. We have a sponsorship from Bullish Rippers, which is the Green Raccoon account up here, and we're going to pick basically a call option typically, which is going to be basically our play of the week that we're going to go in on. We'll publicly and transparently share it. It's just something for people to learn from. So we're on a 2-week win streak right now. So hopefully we'll keep that going. But in the meantime, Peter, very exciting to have you up here. How's everything going?
What's up, guys? What's up, guys? Honored to be on this crowd here. Big shout out to Cam and the Wall Street Bulls, everybody, and to Gav and Stock Market News. It was really good to listen to Stock Talk also. I love sort of opening my day up with just walking into a room of students and professors of technical analysis and watching this market fly. I just came out of the crowd from Trading Kind, Kind, King, Ida, Nancy, David opened here today, a transfer. It's a SPAC. And within moments, the stock had stopped trading volatility, halt 2 or 3 times, just reopened again at 17.5. Since I've been on the call, it may have stopped again. But it's interesting to see the appetite for the market, its appetite for SPACs again, which have had the sort of the ups and downs that we've seen over the last year and change. But the market, market opened up. Spiders were up 12 handles. We came in. In my opinion, I can't address a particular stock. I can discuss sectors. I can't advise you on anything. But, for me, just to watch the way, look, there's 1,000 people on this call, an incredible group. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. And thanks for having the FinTwit space, Gav and Wolf Financial. What an exciting day to be in the market, to be alive. It's just incredible. This market does not seem to have a pause button at all. Every day we're sort of looking for what's going to be the news that's going to disrupt this rally, and all we're being pounded by is solid news. Look, I think that the story of the day and the story of the week is the fact that is the reopening story, is the recovery story, right? You've got the airlines on a tear. You've got the United States open now to 33 countries. People can travel again. You're seeing a mass and any stock that's in the nooks and crannies of that space. Whether it's energy sector, whether it's airlines, whether it's Airbnb, it's travel, it's hospitality. This is the story we've all been waiting for, to have some teeth into. We've seen the airline sector, when we've had these sort of false starts on the reopening story, sort of, rally up, and the next day somebody gets COVID and there's a fight on a plane and, snakes on the plane and the shit gets real. But I'm hoping that we've got holiday season coming. Not all due respect. Look, guys, I'm a COVID survivor and I'm still living in hell zone 7 from long COVID and all this stuff. So deep respect to anybody who's experienced the disease. And I hope no one else gets it. And surely the Delta variant is still on the table and whatnot. But I think it's time to put this on the back burner, at least for some hope and respect. We got to get our lives back to a certain extent. And I think the market's going to respond to that. And over the last 6 months, I've talked about it. I said, once this recovery story and once the reopening story really gets some traction, this is going to be like a slingshot that just takes off, whether it's cruise ships, airlines, travel, hospitality, restaurants, whatever it is. When we get some sense that we are going to reopen, the world reopens. And I think, look, the reopening of the United States to European travel is a big story. I don't see them, short of a disaster, reversing that story anytime soon, especially holiday season coming in. I've been analyzing some of the numbers about this date, right? Today's the day where the U.S. reopens to European travelers, 33 countries. And the reservations are up 40, 50%. And travel and airlines, and Airbnbs are up. And, you saw it here in New York yesterday. I mean, you had 50,000 runners plus at the New York City was on fire again. The atmosphere in the neighborhoods with the runners, the international feeling and whatnot. And then today coming in, market up 150. So, I see positivity on the horizon. I see an incredible appetite for the market. IPOs haven't been acting that well over the last couple of weeks, but it was nice to see Kind get sort of a big bump this morning. I see a really solid positive week coming up.
Love it. Love it. Peter, you at the NYSE today?
I am at the NYSE, and I'm looking forward to a week. I am traveling a little bit this week, but I'm a shout out to the Bulls once again, the Wall Street Bulls. Anyone interested, we're going to have some fun today. We are doing an Einstein of Wall Street AMA. Ask me any question you want at 5:00 on a Zoom call with the Wall Street meme community, and that should be fun. And that's cool. But I did want to go back for one quick second. Sorry to jump back in, but what Stock Talk was talking about, guys, you know that one of the things that I talk about, look, this market is on fire and the appetite is strong. Yet there are moves in this market where volatility is absolutely dangerous. The earnings season has been solid, 80+% have beat, yet stocks come out and the volatility is extraordinary. So I'm really, really, really would like to pound the pavement for technical analysis. And I know Stock Talk talked about being a volume watcher and whatnot, but that's, for me, that's not just enough, right? First of all, from a new trader point of view, getting into a stock that doesn't at least trade 1 million shares a day is dangerous. Then I believe that, look, I represent Wall Street Global Trading Academy, guys. We're doing a live webinar on November 17th. Once again, we did one last week. We had people from Albania to Patagonia on the call, and we talked about risk management through the eyes of the meme phenomenon. We talked about everything you wanted to know about day trading and the questions that the new generation of people in this market is exciting. We're doing it again on November 17th, so keep an eye out. But criteria to be involved in a stock from a day trading perspective are more than volume in my world. And I'm not dissing anything Stock Talk talked about. We each have our criteria that work for us when we try to impart some education in the to new young traders. But we use RSI, we use pivot points, we use moving averages. I beg people, volume is an interesting criteria, because we're seeing in a lot of these stocks that are getting memeified in short squeezes, where you're seeing massive volume. And I guess we saw it in the DWAX, we saw it in a number of stocks. We saw it in CAR last week, right, guys? CAR last week went from 159 to 547. And the amount of volume that traded at these high levels, I do a lot of forensic analysis on these memeified stocks. And you see that a majority of the volume is sheerly FOMO, guys, right? Majority of the volume on that day was above $500, right? That means that when it went back down to 250 the next day, most people's accounts got blown up, guys, right? So FOMO is a thing you got to watch. Multiple criteria, technical analysis. I'm here if anybody needs it. You can learn from a million different people, but I coach and mentor people. I beg people to take on technical analysis as a great tool to trade this market, not for investing, guys. You talk to Gav about investing, long-term markets go up. Sell side's been, nothing but buying opportunities. But if you're a day trader and you're new in the market, I beg you to educate yourselves and become responsible, because this is a pivotal time to make money. And Stock Talk talked about it. It's a matter of putting the probability in your favor, that a trade is on the winning side and not the losing side, and that you minimize, never turn a winning trade into a losing trade, right? Nobody got broke. No one goes broke taking a profit.
Well said, Peter. Absolutely. Stock Talk, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, for a new trader, like I said, you don't want to over depend on any one indicator, whatever that is, whether it's volume, RSI, MACD, whether you're over depending on moving averages, whatever you may be, you definitely do not want to over depend on an indicator. Me as a volume-based trader, what I mean by that is that I just study volume patterns to, assess what I feel like are the high momentum runners, what are the continuation runners. Where's the volume genuine? Where is it just created by hype? Where is it created by a catalyst? Where is it sympathy volume? These are all types of things that you can learn over time and with experience. But I personally believe that volume is the most important thing. No good setup can ever work out without the volume that you need. I agree completely. I mean, I do a lot of technical analysis myself, and I find it to be important. But again, the more data you have, the better. Whether if you have 5 different, like if you're studying the MACD, the RSI, the VWAP, you're using your moving averages, your supply and demand zones, and you're using volume trends, and if on top of that you can throw on a fundamental story, I mean, the more data you have, the better. That's just really how I operate, and I try to accumulate as much as possible. But volume for me, as a day trader, sympathy trader, swing trader, is the number one thing I personally look at. Again, people's styles are going to vary from person to person, but for me, I've never met a good setup that didn't need volume, and so that's where my focus generally is. Again, for newer traders, it's going to be hard to trade, be a volume-based trader, because it requires a lot of context on why the volume is coming or why it's not coming, or how the volume is trending, if it's volume inflow, volume outflow, how is it impacting the bid ask. These are all things that come with experience, and you're not just going to be able to make those assessments off the rip. You have to be vigilant and experienced enough and educated enough to make those assessments. So Yeah, I mean, I agree with what a lot of Peter said. It just volume just happens to be my personal favorite thing to look at, and it's done me well. So, I continue to focus on volume as my primary reason to take trades most of the time. And again, that doesn't just mean that if a stock has high volume that I'm getting into it. That's not what that means. That just means that I'm analyzing, what the volume is, what the context for the volume is, what the relative volume is. I might compare daily volume to the 1 week volume in certain cases if I'm looking for a short-term runner, and then I may compare daily volume to the 3 month volume or even the 1 year volume in certain cases. So it's really a case-by-case thing, and I know that might be limitedly helpful, but that's really how I employ it.
On top of that, I would like to say to the newer folks, to the younger traders or the newer traders, that you do need to have some basis in fundamental analysis. I mean, yes, technical analysis has never been more important. It's more accurate now than it was when I was younger because of all the algorithmic trading. But I think you need to know the balance sheets, the income statements, free cash flow. You need to know if you're in a name and you're going to stay in a name, your investment story has to include the fundamental story.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I think the longer you're holding something, the more relevant the fundamental story becomes. If you're just day trading, the fundamental story doesn't matter. But if you're swing trading or investing, it's definitely very important. So I agree with that. Being able to read SEC filings, balance sheets, being able to assess, different players in a sector versus peers, being able to assess, what different types of industries require different type of financial metrics to be successful. There's industries where your gross profit margin and your free cash flow are significantly more important than they are in other industries. There's industries where your capital expenditures are critical to compete with peers. Understanding how to read fundamentals in the balance sheet and, in SEC filings and understanding those things is important, but also understanding how to put those fundamentals in context with the sector that you're trading is also very important as well. So understanding the fundamental story and the fundamental narrative is, also just as important as understanding the numbers behind it.
I'll agree with all that. Thanks, Stephen. Look, let's be clear to the group that there's a huge difference between investing long-term and trading, right? Investing long-term fundamentals are more significant. It's a story that you like. It's not about the hype. The entry point may be, it may be helpful to get into it using some technicals, but that's a longer-term story, and the fundamentals are key there. But as I've always been touting, that this is not your grandfather's stock market. For those of people, and I always promote people to have two different trading accounts, one long-term investing, which they buy for the story and they buy for the balance sheet, and then the trading account. Right now is a pivotal generational time, if you have the tools of technical analysis to be trading this market, to make a little extra disposable income and to have some fun. If you're new in it, it's exciting and intriguing, but it can be incredibly dangerous. And I know for a fact that in the school that I run, Wall Street Global Trading Academy, we get people come to us every single day talking about they got into one of these memeified hype stocks because of FOMO, and they're trying to get back to even, and they've been on the negative for months and months. And that's something, now that everybody's been invited to this party, I don't want to have anybody just kind of get drunk and go home and be all, pissed off at us because they really were not successful at this. This is a pivotal time. If you have some of these tools and you can learn the tools from everybody, it's great to hear all the different opinions about this. Whatever works for you. And I'm I'm forever a student of the market. Somebody shows me something new that works, I love it. But as a trader, which is really my message lately, because I'm watching these names and and I have no axe in the market, guys. I don't own stocks. So I'm trying to do it from a forensic point of view to try and analyze where there is opportunity. And I watch, and I'm in these stocks. I'm in these stocks that stop trading 10 friggin' times a day. I'm actually on the floor actively trading them. And it's fascinating to watch and see where the volume is and see people jumping in on things that are going up for no reason. And what's so problematic about that is they'll go down for no reason too. And you'll see all the people who bought them up at 550 on the CAR sell them down to 250, and those guys won't be back tomorrow to play in this party any longer. So I want everyone to be successful in this and profitable in this. And if I can do anything with my 35 years experience, and I've known Stephen Guilfoyle since he was 9 years old, then that's my job. That's our job here, guys, to share with you our experience. We've seen this movie before, maybe not this particular movie, but we've seen things unfold like this before. So if I can be of any help on that way, anybody reach out. It's great to be part of it.
100%. Sorry,
Just to
do you have a comment?
piggyback on what Peter was saying briefly. If you are a new trader that's finding yourself playing these momentum trades or these really speculative markets where you're trading or buying names that you don't know. I know Peter mentioned that he's ran into people who get into one of these trades on the upside or on the momentum, and then they're holding that bag for months and months and months. If you're doing that, you are not defining your risk. And
Correct.
in my opinion, if you're not defining your risk, you're not trading in a disciplined or effective way. So if you're a new trader that's doing that and finding yourself, playing some of these high momentum names and you get in on a bad entry and then months later you're still holding the same bag, you're doing it wrong. You should not be trading momentum names ever without defining your risk, ever. Like, there's almost no exceptions. If you're trading a name that you're familiar with and you're trading it and you're in early before the volume, before the price action, that's one thing. And inherently your risk is lower in those cases. But, if you're chasing a 2, 3, 400% runner and you're looking for an entry and you're not technically sound enough to find an appropriate entry, and then you buy in and the stock dumps, if you don't have risk definition, you're going to get screwed over and hold a bag. But if you define your risk, whatever that might be, minus 10%, minus 5%, whatever, defining your risk just dramatically improves your risk reward regardless of what you're doing, even if you're not momentum trading. So again, new traders, you have to define your risk if you're trading. If you're investing, you don't have to have a stop loss, but if you're trading, you have to define your risk. It is almost like, I know a bunch of full-time traders. A lot of my friends are full-time traders. I know traders that have been trading for 40, 50 years. I don't know anyone that doesn't define their risk if they're trading. So that should tell you all you need to know. Like, I don't know a single person that does this full-time that doesn't define their risk. So, that being said, if you're not defining your risk, you're gambling, and especially if you're trading these high momentum names. So, that's just a reminder. I know I say that all the time, but it's very critically important to define risk.
Guys, the most important thing that we teach is risk management. Risk management. Think about how amazing, extraordinary it is that the stock market has given us the opportunity to use stop orders. Stop orders defines your risk, exactly what Stock Talk is talking about. You have to define the amount you're willing to lose before you can start taking profits on the way up. And when a trade does not work for you, you get out, having identified your risk, whether it's down 5 or 10%. Every trade you get in as a new trader or a trader, you have to have a plan. You have to have a reason. The question must be answered. Why am I getting into this trade? And the minute you get in the trade on a long or a short side, you have to put in a stop order. We do not get in any trade without having a stop order in there. That way you define your risk, and then you can benefit from the most if the trade works. That's the key. Risk management, money management immediately gives you a 50% better chance of having a profitable trade than a losing trade, guys. That is the key. That is number one. Without that, you have nothing. It has irresponsible gambling without it, just like Stock Talk talked about. That is gambling, and that's what we're trying not to get you. This is not get rich quick scheme, and this is not gambling unless you don't use risk management. Risk management is the key.
Love it. Sarge, do you have any other comments there?
This is totally out of left field as to what we're speaking about, but Ford Motor, guys, just grabbed the $20 handle. It's trading at $20.17. Ford lost the $20 handle when we came back from the terrorist attacks of 9/11 and never regained it. This has been 20 years since Ford took this level, so I think that's kind of important.
Pretty cool to see. Okay, so I want to move into a couple things. I do want to do our trade of the week soon, and I also put out a tweet. If anybody has any ideas for us that could potentially be the trade of the week, feel free to drop it under there. Just ask what option people are trading today. Also brought up Bill Spackman. Bill, did you have any comments?
Man, I just want to say EVs are ripping real hard today. I think based on the back of the infrastructure bill. I think that there's a lot more room to go. These things are still beaten down from like the highs of like February. So there's still another good chunk in a lot of these plays to go. So I don't think we're stopping yet.
Got you. Gerg, also want to come to you real quick. So Tilray is looking interesting right now. Lots of bullish call option on Tilray, repeated bullish call option. In fact, coming in, it's a very, very beaten down stock that is up 8% today, and is moving. Any thoughts on Tilray?
I mean, I played the earnings last time. I got burned. Do they have earnings coming up soon? Let me check. No, they have earnings on January 6th. Okay. Now, I don't see any big catalyst coming out from these guys.
Okay. I'm interested. Maybe, big money knows something that I don't.
Yeah, I'll take a look and DM you about this.
Cool.
I need to look a bit deeper into this.
The other thing, this was a question from Chirag, which I thought was pretty good. And he asked for you for weekly cash secured puts on Tesla. What's the best time to write your contract, Friday or Monday?
No, for expiry, I think it depends, right? I think if you buy on Monday, you get the best premium because Theta works for you. But only sell those puts if you're willing to buy the stock at that price. I mean, you could have done that today for the 1,000 call. The premium was 13 in the morning, right at open. Now it's at $2. So if you sold that, you'd be up 80% already. So
Totally hear that. Interesting.
yeah, I think for this week, your time is gone. Like the IV, the spike that opened, it's back to the Friday level. So the extra money you could have made is gone now. So
Got you. Got you. Richard, wanted to bring you back into this. Have you made any other moves since we've talked with you?
No, like I said, I'm mostly just sitting and waiting for the earnings 9th and 10th. But I thought it was a really awesome discussion of risk management. That's the name of the game. That's how you're going to be involved for decades, and that's how you make generational wealth. Is proper risk management that takes care of the downside, and then all that's left is trying to identify those best opportunities and take care of the upside as well.
Wow. Also, holy cow, I just realized Mara just hit $75 a share. That is insane. I mean, that's obviously if anyone who's,
Yesterday on
what
Play of the Week, one of our audience members picked Mara for today, so that was a nice pick.
yeah, exclusive was like just I'm DMing with him and he's like, look at all so he put out his watch list for anybody that's not following. Exclusive, I think, is one of the fastest growing accounts I've seen in this area. And he put out Mara Coin, Hut, Riot. Those were like four of his picks. And they have been obviously running today off of the sentiment. But it's crazy to see, it came out already up 10% and then ran up basically another 8% since. I can't believe the stock's sitting at 75. I was so pissed when it was down I bought in at like the 40s and then it was down into like, 50% into the 20s and then it's just sitting there for forever. And then having this run is great. I'm very sad. I sold my miners, most of my miners on the way up, luckily kept all my Bitcoin, which is a hefty chunk of my growth portfolio, and entered into Hut 8 mining last week, which was, I guess, looking like a good move as that's up about 8.5% as well. All right, Evan. Oh, Juicy's here. Love that. Evan, should we hop into trade of the week?
I'm down for it. I'm totally down for it. I'm down to throw it to Juicy also if we want to get some of his thoughts, anything he's been watching.
Yeah, 100%. So, Juicy, I know that you've been live streaming and trading for like 3 hours already today. What's going on, man?
Hey guys, what's going on? And thanks for having me on midday. So today was pretty much a good day. I've been yelling out the exercise caution on the SPY. If you look at the day chart, we pretty much ran into the 1.618, and that's why I got the number 470 from that area, which I've been shouting about. So seasonality leading into this number was very high. Now going into this week, we lose seasonality from 87%. If you look at a 10-year span, we drop down to the 60%. So we're at the 1.618, and then seasonality comes in and it drops off. So for me, my whole approach going to this week is just play defense, right? We don't want to be in trades that say we're going to let them run. Today, we're going to cut at profits. We're taking profits at 20 and 50%. We're all out of trades. We want to get some cushion on the week. So today I saw Tesla dripped off the Elon Musk news. But if you was to take the day chart out and you look at 11:03, well, on November 3rd, you see that wick right there. We pretty much got right down to that wick. And once they bounced it off of there, I actually entered some calls. TD Ameritrade stopped me right out for a 40% gain. And then it formed the bull flag right after that. We're looking at the 5-minute chart. And if you look at the 5-minute, right at 10 a.m., I got in. some in the money calls, and I got right back out at 10.15. So altogether, I took like a 40% scalp, and then I took another 60% right there. My play of the day was Affirm. I put that all out on Twitter. When I say Affirm, AFRM. My long trigger was 166.04. I pretty much got in that, and I swung it all the way up to the 175.69 number. That is the 2618 Fibonacci extension. So in and out there. I entered a Snapchat swing today. Currently up about, at the 55 calls for next week, I'm up about 16% here. Nothing major, but this is the start of a swing. I have very small size due to the fact that I'm playing defense. And that's pretty much my day. I'm 3 for 3. I'm just hanging out at this point.
Love it, man. Are you seeing this coin run?
So for me, man, so here's a tip for me. This is what I like. All right, I'm gonna pull up a coin. Everybody pull up a coin day chart, right? I'm trying to pull up so I can explain. If you take coins day chart, right? If you look at the higher day from the last 3 days, it's at that 345.85 level. Now, if you zoom out and you look left to the 416 level, that's the same area. So for me going into the day, I was looking for them to break that level. So when something gaps above that level, it gets treated differently. But when it opens below your trigger and during the day it goes through the trigger, those are the best plays you can take. And that's what I was expecting. I did not get in coin because it gapped up and I was in Tesla and Affirm, but I did sell it go. You have room to 381.87. So very bullish here. I think they're going to push it all the way into ER, and we'll see what happens at the ER.
Yeah, exclusive had the same price target, 380. I mean, pretty close to whatever to what you said there with 381. Yeah, Affirm, that's one that we touched on a little bit earlier in here. It has cooled a bit. I still can't believe. I tweeted out back on the October 3rd about starting a position in Affirm, and it's already up 54%. That's 1 month, 1 week. I feel like that is not normal.
It's not.
Yeah, so what's going on here? I think the buy now pay later has been a huge rage. Obviously, it had major catalysts along the way, but this type of strength, and honestly, it's on decreasing volume as well, which is the craziest thing, right? You had that massive volume on the initial gap up, and it's just been going down since then. So, what's your thoughts there?
So for me, man, I've been playing it day by day because of what you said. I'm a big time volume trader, so when I see something with a lot of volume, I want to be in it. But once the volume dies off, I'm pretty much not looking at the long-term perspective on the higher time frames. I'm just day trading it in and out like I did today, taking shorter-term contracts. But you're going to see this a lot with stocks. Like you guys remember Zoom? When Zoom first came, it was crazy, right? And then at some point, like the volume died off, but Zoom was just going up every day. It was just like an everyday thing. I was trading Zoom like I'm trading Tesla right now. And I like to say that this is in its momentum phase. Even though the volume isn't there, it's just squeezing to the upside, right? So for me, I think it goes slightly higher. As long as we can stay above 160, I'm bullish on it. Anything below 160, that's where I want to get and say, you know what, I want to get out of this position. But I'm not in it. I was with you there. I was skeptical about Affirm. On a fundamental standpoint, I'm a little skeptical about the whole unsecured customer debt thing, right? Like what they're buy now, pay later. I know that's hot right now, but when people default on that debt, that's going to affect, their earnings heavily. So for me, I was like, I don't know if I want to put a long-term position because of that. I don't believe in that. So I'm not really messing with it. But I did start a position in Facebook because the whole metaverse thing. So I got 1,000 shares of Facebook and I'm just sitting in them.
Love it. 1,000 shares of Facebook. Yeah. Let's actually talk about that real quick. And I think we've collectively agreed, by the way, to everyone in the audience that we are not going to be calling this company Meta in Spaces. We're just going to call it Facebook.
Let's do it.
That is the rule of Spaces. And so talk to me about with your thoughts there, because I've seen, a lot of bullishness. I like it. I like the stock. I think that this is a good multi-year hold. If I'm person looking at it, oh my God, I just tried to type it into TrendSpider and I can't even find the goddamn ticker. What is it? It's like it doesn't even come up. It's not even coming up though. Oh, there we go. Okay, they put it in. I thought they were gonna MDRS or something, but yeah,
December 1st to that.
Yeah. With Facebook, we're in such a interesting position right here. Right above the 200-day, above the volume ledges, kind of sitting right below the 50, the 100. What I look at and what I like the most here about Facebook is actually the anchor view up. So this is something that I'm pretty sure you use, Juicy. I know a lot of people are using this. And when I look at the anchored VWAP from the basically I'm going, so this is the volume weighted average price, and I'm just going from the highs, which are back on the 1st of September, and that comes in literally right here at 338. So we just broke through the anchored VWAP, and we are testing it today. However, I'm looking for a bounce off that, so that seems like a fantastic point. So maybe this is play of the week, Evan.
Facebook.
So from a fundamental standpoint, I'm gonna just compare this to how I got into Lucid. I've been bag holding Lucid since 27, and I've had shares, right? And this is why I didn't get the contracts. I knew the price action would be a little weak, like a little shaky, and then pull back and then go higher over term because Lucid's going to be a prime dominator in the industry. Same thing here with Facebook. Now, I run another company. One of my businesses is that we work with startups. And one of the strategies that we use for small startups is rebranding, right? When you rebrand a product, everybody, if you have a decent following, a decent audience, everybody's going to want to see your rebrand, right? They're going to want to see what you did. And what that's going to do is give that startup the opportunity to advertise their product in front of a new crowd. That's what Facebook, that's not exactly what they're doing, but that's one way of them switching to Meta. Everybody's going to want to see what the metaverse is, and this is their opportunity to say, hey, look, this is the new way we're going to communicate with each other, right? So over the long period of time, just as a future fundamentation, just think about Zoom. Pandemic happened, everybody's using Zoom. I use Zoom every day to live stream and talk to people. So we're probably going to transition to this VR headset, and it's going to be the new Zoom. So for me, the long-term perspective, Meta is going to be very bullish. But we're probably going to be using Meta. It's going to probably eventually be a Ready Player One type of situation if you ever seen that movie down the road, way, way down the road. But these are the first steps in that direction. So for me, very bullish here on the whole Meta Facebook industry. But on a technical standpoint, the fundamentals are, the technicals are a hold, right? I'm not looking to enter right now. I'm already, even though I did, and that's why I got shares. That's why I didn't get options, right? Because I know we can pull back before we go higher.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think this is one where I'm actually going to run it by Brian Shannon because this would look like one of his favorite type anchor VWAP plays. He's the guy who created. You had a good one last week.
Well, so quickly, just our play of the week is a little bit different than what my normal trading strategy or investing strategy would be. Normally, I wouldn't like to go around earnings or invest around it, but the trade of the week kind of allows us to do that. So maybe we look at one of the names that reports this week. I know Gerg said a little bit earlier that Palantir historically has not done great around their earnings, and maybe that could be an opportunity. I know Coinbase has tomorrow, and I have some.
No, I wouldn't play Palantir. So Palantir is weird. You lose money both on calls and puts. Because with Palantir, at pre-market, they post the earnings, usually tanks, and it opens the day down 6-7%. But last three earnings, it ended the day close green. So at open, it's red, and it closed the day green. So it's very, very hard to play that. Because at open, you have Ivy Crush, you lose money on the calls first, then you lose on the puts after that, so not worth to play that. But AFRM and UPST have earnings, so these guys are very, very big movers. Like UPST, the average move is 50% the day after earnings, so I know Wolf is long UPST, correct?
Yeah, so for me, it's going to be very dependent. I am long UPST. It's very dependent. It's obviously had quite the run up here, small pullback. It's very dependent on the quarter over quarter revenue numbers. I don't want to go too far in depth on that because I had a very in-depth conversation with Jonah, but he asked me not to share all the info. And it's just very dependent on the revenue. So, I'm a hesitant to trade options into it because obviously with options, you can't go ahead and sell after hours. You can't, sell pre-market. And if something was to happen, I mean, we could take a look at them at least, I guess. Maybe we should just see first off if there's any like unusual activity going on real quick with Upstart. I don't see anything crazy. I see 4 short-term Stuff today, 3 calls, 1 put, nothing massive, no sweeps. Like nobody's rushing to get into this right here. I can also take a look. I mean, just the prices overall. So just a reminder, we try to, I mean, maybe if people want to take this with us, they can. Our budget from Bullish Rippers is $500. So we're not taking anything like crazy. Like I was looking at these Tesla calls, these coin calls, and they're like 20 grand a piece. So unfortunately, we're not taking that. And I'm looking at the Upstart ones, and even the weeklies are just insane. Like unless we thought it was going to $400 a share, which it could, it would just be a little bit.
No, I think 400 was its all-time high. I don't think it will ever break that unless they have a very, very big beat on earnings. So I think 400 was the top for UPSC for a while.
Yeah. Also, big shout out to crypto this morning, which is
Another one I like, but it had a monster 2-day 50% run, so I think it's kind of getting tempered a little bit off that now. But I really like Miji fundamentally as well. The rest of them, I mean, are all up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them are up double digits. Most of them are up at least 2%. The other ones, the exchange plays aren't really getting a ton of sympathy. BKKT is down, EQOS is down. So those exchange plays aren't getting the same hits as the other ones. Same thing with FPAC. That one hasn't really moved much at all. That's a SPAC for the company Bullish, for those who don't know, which is backed by Peter Thiel and one of the former presidents of the New York Stock Exchange. So it was a decent exchange play. I didn't love their investors presentation. I thought it was a bit fluffy. There wasn't a lot of substantial information, and maybe that's why you're seeing some market hesitancy. But yeah, the miners are doing well. The exchange plays aren't really responding. Mara and Riot are leading the pack, which they usually do on strong days like this. But they're not, the volume on those names isn't really overwhelmingly higher than it is on some of these other runners. BTBT, that short squeeze narrative kind of got going. And again, I'm not sure. I haven't personally checked how much short interest there is, but I saw a lot of chatter about that this weekend, about it being between 20 and 30%. So, that one's up 13%. But BidF, Mara, Riot, BTBT, Can, Hut, Hive, and Any are the double-digit gainers in that sector right now.
Love it. Circling back, I know I mentioned Tilray before. That started running since we've been talking about it. I mean, the calls are actually pretty cheap as well. I don't know if I want to get into them at up 10%, but they're $11, November 19th, so trading at $1.30 right now. So that's a potential option. Peter, I know that you joined us for this, but I don't want to overshadow while we're still deciding on this. And I'm going to go around to Richard and Gerg and Sarge afterwards, and Jason, and see if we just have some ideas here. But Peter, anything else from a macro perspective you wanted to touch on? I know that it just came out. I guess this is a little-ish thing I got from MarketWatch is that they've indicated that they're going to be raising interest rates next year. I don't know how that indication was done, but it doesn't seem to be affecting things. Just any overall other macro thoughts you wanted to share?
Sure. Thanks, guys. You know what? Look, it was fascinating. I love these. I love Fed days. I love to see the price action on that. And I'll reiterate once again that it's really hard to trade anticipatorily into any of these releases because the moves, whether they're earnings or guidance, whether they're Fed meetings or whatever it is, they're not normal. The market feels like everything's built in. Gav and I were on the floor last week with Kramer, and we asked him about, what a fun time that was. Just about, did I think should we not have predicted a little bit of a pullback after the Fed meeting and the release about the taper, which is pretty drastic in a lot of opinions? And he goes, no, it's all built in. I'm good friends with Jerome. Jerome and I are buddies and la, la, la. It was just kind of funny to see his perspective.
More than buddies.
More than buddies, right? Oh, yeah, you're right. We'll keep that one under our belt, though. But anyway, that's funny. But, the market tells us what it thinks of all this stuff, guys. Good news, market goes up. Bad news, market goes up. No news, market goes up. I've just got to watch this market on a daily basis. The appetite's amazing. You almost feel like the old days where there are people in the sidelines. There were some times, in 2019 and then a little bit post-pandemic where you're just like, people aren't jumping on board this story yet the market keeps going higher. Wait till everybody finally is convinced that everything's going to be okay, and they jump on board, right? There's, plus there's all these millions of new traders out there. They're the wild, crazy degenerates. Cam's still on the call. The Wall Street meme guys represent this outrageous group of young people who are just trading this market. And, my hope is that we can sort of curate them a little bit and give them a little bit of experience so they do it responsibly, which is all fine and good. Call back into the technical analysis education space. But I think, the market tells us that it's not engaging the raising of interest rate story that's going to probably pop up if the economy starts to recover. We know the market's in solid shape. The economy's still struggling. We know the supply chain story that could have disrupted this rally seems not to be. So once that actually unwinds, then I think we'll see some power. The reopening story, as I said in the beginning of this call, I think that's a huge story now that 33 countries are going to allow to be able to travel to the United States. First time in 18 months, almost 2 years. Guys, let's be clear. This pandemic is almost 2 years old, right? And who would have thought, 2 years ago, March 20th or February 12th, when the market hit a record high before the pandemic, would we be where we are today with this incredible new generation of traders in the market, with the market trading at record highs across the board? And we haven't even really unfolded the reopening recovery story yet, right? With hospitality, with travel and whatnot. So I think the market's telling us that there's still room to move. If you could tell me what you think could dislocate this rally in more than a 5% correction, I'd love to hear about it. But every pullback we've seen over the last bunch of months, whether it's the inflation story, the yield curve story, the supply chain story, the Federal Reserve story, interest rates, and taper, have not dislocated this rally. There's been no follow through on any kind of a pullback at all. And we surely haven't seen a crash. We have not seen anything more than a bit of rotation and consolidation. So, I got to run out of here in a second, guys. It was great to be on this call. I would love to do a shout out to the Wall Street Bulls tonight at 5:00, Zoom call with the Einstein of Wall Street. Any question you want to ask me will be fun. And November 17th, guys, Wall Street Global Trading Academy. We're doing a live webinar, trading risk management through the eyes of the meme phenomenon. David Green and I, it is free. Go check out my website, Wall Street Global Trading Academy. We love to share whatever knowledge we have that we've learned. As I said, we've seen this movie before. And as we talked about it, and I love the fact that everyone's on board with me, risk management is the ultimate tool, the best defense against volatility and best defense against a wild, crazy market. So join me on all those things. Check out Wall Street Bulls. Wolf, you guys are amazing. Honored to be on this call with the whole team. Thanks, guys.
100%. Appreciate you, Peter. And Peter has been on Wall Street for 35 years, real knowledgeable and well-connected person. So definitely make sure that you are following him. He is a guardian of so much financial knowledge. Awesome. All right, let's make our way around here. So I'm just going to go through. It sounds like the ones that we're looking at right now for Trade of the Week are perhaps PLTR, Facebook, Tilray. Let's see what else. I don't really think we're going to play SPY. Again, we're looking for not cheap, but like decently cheap options here. So yeah, Coinbase. So, Richard, let's go over to you first. And again, this is an ideation, not financial advice, but just any of these things stand out to you? Or I know that you're playing Curve Ops too.
Yeah, so I think my vote would either be PLTR or Coin. I think those are pretty high potential. Obviously, you've got earnings going the next few days, but we're using options, so limiting our risk that way. But PLTR is just breaking out through some pivots through 26.6 or so that looks pretty good technically. And Coin, in my opinion, is one of the leaders in the market at this moment. So either of those would be good on my end.
Cool. How about you, Juicy?
So for me, I was actually watching PLTR. If you look at the weekly chart, you got a weekly breakout. You went inside up on the weekly chart. So I do like PLTR long here. Coin, I'm going to recommend you guys wait to add the ER. Me personally, I don't like taking positions into ER because you never know. Even if the ER comes out good, how many times have you seen earnings reports hit and then the stock goes down? They find some little, detail in the report they didn't like and they slam it down 10% overnight, right? So I'll wait for the earnings to come out and then take a position in it depending on how they do there. But I'm really liking PLTR here.
Can I be honest with you? Just quickly for a second. With Coinbase, my initial inclination is to take the put side of this one. as opposed to the calls. We can talk a little bit more later, but Gava, I cut you off. Sorry.
No, you're good. Although I am hesitant of taking coin puts, I will say, because I do see the run to 380. I'm not in it currently, although I should have been. I've more been cheering on other people that have been in it. Because, by the way, I'll just say this also to the audience: you do not have to take every trade. And if somebody else takes it and they make money, good for them. Absolutely. A lot of people slide into my DMs in the mornings, really awesome plays, and I don't get into all of them. Sometimes they're too expensive. Sometimes I don't want to take the risk. I've been burned plenty of times on call options and stuff like that. But listen, if they're making money, that's awesome. Like at the end of the day, I just want people to be out here getting financially free. So props to them, but don't feel pressure to like comment on every single one. That's why with the trade of the week, we're trying to distill so many different ideas down to one and really do that research. Juicy, you have a comment?
So I want to just hit off what you just said. And if you guys look, I put a post that says, "Do you want to become a better trader?" We did this webinar last night on mindset. It's completely free. We're not even talking about buying and selling. Me and one of my top students, he's known out in the trading world for taking 13K to 120K in about a month. We literally just banging out mindset. Like he said, you don't have to take every trade. And that takes mindset to know that and realize that. You really want to stay cash and stay idle and wait for your trading plan to line up with the market. Sometimes it's going to be there often. Sometimes it's not going to be there at all. There's times where I'm cash for days on end, and I'm a very active intraday trader. And then there's times I'm in every freaking thing that's moving, right? Because I'm waiting for the market to line up to me. So I highly recommend that you guys hit that. It's literally all you got to do is hit that link, hit play. There's no sign up. I'm not pushing for nothing. This is just education we want to give to you guys for free. It's all right there.
Love it. Okay, so yeah, PLTR is definitely one that's looking on my radar right now, continuing to watch this. I see, I'm looking at it on a few different platforms. So I use several different platforms. I'm trying to learn more about them. I actually need to learn trading tips. But right now I'm looking on Black Box Stocks, Trend Spider, Quant Theta, Unusual Whales. Those have been kind of like my host. Just trying to figure out some others with trading ticks, what could be going on here. But it looks pretty solid. Juicy, you have another comment?
Yes, I'm trying to clean up a
No, you're good,
chart
man.
so I can get it out here. But yeah, if you look at the weekly chart, take it to the weekly on PLTR. You'll notice how we went inside last week. You'll see this little doji, and the top of the candle previous to that is 26.76. That's your trigger to get long. Now, if you look over on the weekly chart to 927, you got this big giant sell-off candle. The top of that candle is going to be your target at 28.37, and your next target is going to be the higher day from 913, which is 29.38. You can just call it 30, but pretty much you got room to 28.37 and then 30. I know it's only like $2 from perspective, but everybody understand this is still a less than $30 stock, so $2 will make you a decent return with the right options contract. So it's clean. Got no negative catalyst going on, and the volume's here, so I like it.
Where would you be looking for kind of strikes and dates and stuff along those lines?
Me personally, in this market, that's the only problem. See how SPY is at this 1618, and now it's just being range bound. My concern is this market going to pull back. So me, I'll keep it short term. I go bi-weekly, probably go bi-weekly next Friday, 27 calls. I put a stop based on structure. My stop would go around 2608. So I'm risking $1 in the premium. If it comes back there, I accept the loss. And at the bottom of the day, you got the 9 EMA pretty much coming at that 26 level too. But again, you're risking the market right now. That's the problem. If this market turns around and pulls back, everything in the market's going to pull back with it, right? So for me, that's why I put a snap swing on today, but I only have, you guys know, I usually throw 100 contracts at a time. I only got 10 contracts on snap, right? Because I don't trust the market.
Interesting. Okay. How about you, Gerg?
So what's your budget? 500, correct?
Yeah.
We could swing a little more
If you
right
can
now if we
raise
needed to.
that,
Yeah, technically we could.
so, and the 130 puts are just in hedge in case it goes the other way. Because a firm is very, very volatile during earnings, so this is what I love to play.
So
So let me give you some numbers from a firm. So the average move is 15%. The last time it ran 34%. Before that, it was pretty flat. But before that, it dropped 10%. So For this, you need a 3% move to break even on either side.
Evan?
I was gonna go with something else there, but you said what's a firm at right now? You said the range is 130 puts and 190 calls.
Yeah, so if you look at the option market, the weekly expected move is 10%. So this puts it there at 147 and 182. So you could do 150 and 180, but a lot of people have been buying the 130 calls today, Friday, Thursday, and Wednesday.
Gotcha. The other name I wanted to maybe throw out there, other 2 points. One, I could be down to maybe wait for some of these earnings to come out and then play a reaction to it. Maybe we can let some of the Monday, Tuesday ones come out and then see where we're at. But also, Disney reports earnings Wednesday. I know Sarge said that he was a fan of it. Stockton Weekly echoed his point. So maybe we kind of add that one into the discussion as well. They got a couple of catalysts this week beyond just earnings. Could be an interesting one.
I mean, I love Disney, but I wouldn't play the earnings. I love more volatile moves like where I can make 10x, 5x. Like, look at Disney, right? The expected move is 4%. And in the past, 8 earnings, the average move was 1.8%. Last earnings, it was at 1%. Before that, down 2%. Before that, down 1%. Before that, it was up 2%. It doesn't move a
I
lot.
do also think the event, though, could help it this week, and a lot of the other announcements that might be coming along with it, along with just hype that could be built from it.
Yeah, it's the E1, the AMC one. They plan to play the old movies.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. They said this morning they're going to play 4 new movies over this upcoming weekend at 200 AMC locations. But that was just a small part. There was some talk about NFTs in this as well, which was an interesting one. A couple other projects coming, but they also lowered the cost of Disney Plus this week as well. So I know they're trying to treat this entire week as like Disney Plus week or whatever.
Yeah, they also had a partnership with Amazon. They made a new Alexa Disney themes, it's like Disney sound is behind that. But one more thing, right? Last week or 2 weeks back, they shut down the China theme park because of the COVID outbreak. So that should be interesting too, what they say about that and how long they plan to keep it closed.
I'm just seeing a headline now as we were talking about Facebook before, but Facebook plans to use AMD chips in its data centers is the headline I'm seeing right now.
I actually wanted to bring you back in on this also Stock Talk Weekly. Any thoughts? I guess we kind of have a few names now that we're looking at. Affirm, we can play both sides. We have PLTR, which I'm watching for the break to 2750. Facebook, Disney. Any of these stand out to you?
I like PLTR to me. I mean, it's another one of these cult meme stocks that can get going. If they have a decent earnings. I know somebody mentioned earlier, I don't know if it was Juicy or someone else, that they like the technical setup on PLTR. I agree with that completely. I actually really like the technical setup on PLTR. But issue is, with these called names, the same way that good earnings can, make them explode, bad earnings can also create a lot of divided sentiment and, taper the reaction that you get. I would say out of those names that you mentioned, I'm probably the biggest fan of Disney. That's largely because I also like the chart on Disney, and I also think the fundamental story is really good. I think Disney would have to have a big miss for that not to play out. I don't think they will, but again, I'm not in the business of predicting. You guys know me. I say this all the time. I don't play options, whether it's straddles or outright calls or puts. I don't play options going into earnings. I just don't find the RR to be as good as it is playing the reaction. So, for me, it's not something I typically do. But if you are looking to play one of those, I probably, in my opinion, I like Disney the best. Not predicting what's going to happen, but I do like Disney the best in terms of liking it fundamentally and technically. When it comes to Palantir, just from a fundamental perspective, I'm not a big fan of the fundamental story there. They've had a decade plus to become profitable or find a way to do that, and they haven't. So, there's hesitancy for me on the fundamental story for Palantir. I do like the chart on Disney. I like both the chart and I like the story fundamentally. So, yeah, my pick out of what you mentioned would be Disney.
Cool. Evan, do we want to put any more time, I guess, into the play of the week right now, or do we want to maybe move on to anything else?
Yeah, I think we're good. Let's sit on it, have a nice discussion. Wolf has said this a couple times. He runs about 10, 12, 50 spaces a week, whatever it is. He's a Google Calendar. He'll bring that back up in a second, but we'll have some time to think about this, bring it back up on another space throughout the week. So just keep an eye on that.
Yeah, okay, 100%. I guess, do you want to just talk real quick about any earnings that you're looking at this week?
Well, I feel like we kind of covered it pretty well. I don't have too much in front of me. I don't want to ramble out anything like that. Let me just quickly get the earnings calendar in front of me. One company, one Twitter account, whatever, Earnings Whispers, eWhispers on Twitter. It is an amazing account to follow to keep up with all the earnings that are happening. They post amazing pictures. So today like I said earlier, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday tends to be the biggest days normally. This week it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Today after the close, we have PayPal, AMC, Roblox, a couple other companies, Virgin Galactic, Lemonade, Clover. Tomorrow, there's a couple big hitters in there. In the morning, it's Palantir. And then afternoon, it's Neo, Coinbase, Upstart, Fubo, Plug Power, and a bunch of other names in there. Unity, Win, a couple others. And then on Wednesday, we got SoFi, Disney, Wish, Affirm, Wendy's. But even more, this is a packed week, another packed week of earnings. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the real big days. We'll have some more, specific earnings stuff, how it came out on other spaces throughout the week. Wolf, I actually know that one of your spaces was going to be on a couple of the earnings from Tuesday night, I believe. So that should be great. Looking forward to that. And yeah, busy week.
Yeah, since you mentioned it, let me just run through real quick so everybody knows what the spaces are this week in case you do want to tune in. So this is the only one that I have planned for today, but I'm sure once we do some wrap up on this, probably guys like Stockton Weekly and Gerg will jump on and just continue live trading throughout the day. Tomorrow I have three spaces, 12 p.m. EST. It's actually going to be going over Dogecoin nodes. Interesting topic with Dogecoin rise. At 2 p.m. EST, I'm going to have a very high level, well, not super high level, but you'll be able to understand, but like with people who are experts in it, technical analysis and charting. So Richard will be on that, Ben from Pattern Profits, Jake from Trend Spider, and a couple other guys. Then at 8 p.m. EST, we do every week market sentiment and technical analysis. So everybody will lay out picks for that. So I think guys like Juicy will be on that, and then Danny Nas, Exclusive, and some others. And we lay out picks and we look at the past week. And then Wednesday, I got 12 p.m. EST with Jonah Lupton. And then a bunch more stuff with analyzing SPACs with Stockton Weekly and SPAC Guru and others and earnings. So yeah, with that being said, I'll move into a little bit of wrap up here. So essentially just any final comments that you would like to give out. Richard, do you want to go first?
Sure. I don't have too much to add. Just be careful around earnings. Make sure you're managing risk. I never hold through earnings unless my profit cushion is greater than the implied move. And a resource I found for that that's really good is optionslam.com. But other than that, thanks so much for having me on. Always a pleasure. And yeah, some great discussions. I really enjoyed this. Thanks.
Absolutely. Always pleasure having you on. Sarge?
I know it's a little after the fact, but would you guys like a poor man's trade to Palantir and Disney?
Tell us.
Okay, so Palantir, I'm long both the equity in both names, but Palantir, you got the 21-day EMA, the 50-day SMA, and the 200-day SMA, all between around 20. What is it? 20. I'm losing it. There it is. Wrong chart. Anyway, okay. But what I'm doing here is I'm writing the $25 puts that expire this Friday for about 53 cents. All right, so you transfers your equity risk to about 24.5 if you're interested in getting long Palantir on an earnings related discount, but you're afraid to grab it ahead of the earnings. And as for Disney, as you know, we have a couple of events this week. I think earnings will probably be not so great. I think that the story on Friday will be much better, but it's also the ultimate, hey, everybody from Europe, we're going on vacation to America story. So what I'm doing here is I'm getting long. I'm putting on a 175, 182.5 bull call spread expiring this Friday for a debit of about $3. So you're hoping to win back $7.50 if this works out. Right now we're looking at a $4.50 move. I think it's going to be greater than that.
Very interesting. We haven't done too many of the credit spreads, but I think that, at some point we got to get into them. We got to dip our toes in. Appreciate you being up here, Sarge. Um, Bill.
What up, Wolf? Thanks for having the space again, man. So right now, this week, I'm looking for all EV plays. I've been buying them all morning. One I'm looking at right now that really hasn't started running with the rest of them is DCRN. They're merging with Tritium, which is a manufacturer for electrical charging. Basically, all the EV plays are running off the infrastructure bill, and I think that's a story that's going to continue out throughout the week.
Yeah, I feel like we didn't even talk at all about that infrastructure bill, but yeah, that was huge. I remember seeing that get approved. I think it was Friday evening. I'm sure Nancy Pelosi had some big calls that came in Friday during the day. I wish I had seen.
I think
Um,
Nancy Pelosi still has those Tesla calls, right? 2023.
I'm sure she has the Tesla calls. She has the Nvidia calls. She probably has some AMD calls based on what that's been doing. Yeah, no worries. Okay. What's it called? So I see Gurr popped off, but Stock Talk Weekly.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm just looking at kind of like what Bill said, the EV plays. I think you see continuation for the rest of the week. I think especially in the charging plays. Outside of that, I think these infrastructure plays, IE8 was a name I liked a lot. It moved nicely today. And there's like a bunch of these other plays. I think the railway plays have a lot of exposure. There's a lot of money allocated for rail infrastructure in that bill as well. So that's something to keep an eye on. There's a variety of names that are involved. That rail is a name that I've liked to trade in the past. Trades pretty thinly and it moves nicely. So that's a name I like there as well. Outside of the EV sector, I'm really looking at these blockchain plays. It's been a while since they responded so well. Even on a day where Bitcoin's relative strength for the day isn't great, but they're making up for that weekend move to 65K, which is nice to see. I think that's a good sign of sentiment there. I think those blockchain plays continue to run through the week. So outside of EV infrastructure and blockchain, that's really what I'm focused on. There's other sectors where themes emerge. I'm constantly looking for new themes that are emerging or things that I can day trade or sympathy trade. So I'll be watching those as the week develops. I'll probably be putting out a watch list on Wednesday for some plays that I like for continuation headed into the end of the week. But yeah, I'm just kind of watching basically what I've been talking about earlier, EV charging infrastructure, and then railway infrastructure, a few plays there, and then also these blockchain plays. The flow on Tilray today has been very interesting to me, so I wonder if that spawns a move in some of the weed stocks. Keeping an eye on that for that as well, for some potential trades to be made there. But I'll let that theme flesh out more. I don't trust it when it's just all the flow is centered around one name. I kind of just wait for some of the volume to come to some of the peers, and before I make the assessment to all the way back below the pre-market base. So, obviously hindsight's 2020, but it's nice to see that quick profit taking paying off because I don't expect that all of these hype runners, I think even tomorrow or Thursday or Friday of this week, you're going to see these
Service that's going to be coming out soon. Is that all filled out?
Yeah, we're wrapping it up now. It'll probably be launching here, I imagine, in a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks max.
Very cool. Awesome. All right, Evan, I'm going to you. If anybody's unfamiliar with the Stock Market News account and what it does, he is basically like Benzinga Pro for your timeline. You will get the news faster than you're going to get it from basically paid services, and it is all free. So make sure that you're following. He also co-hosts pretty much all my spaces with me, so we'll be doing a bunch throughout this week. And yeah, Evan, you want to speak for yourself and the multiple other accounts that are up here that are you?
Yeah, it is funny. We don't got to talk about that, but low-key, 3 of the accounts up here I do run, which is funny. I run the Aren't Daily account. You guys, if you're into Kathy, you can follow that, but you don't have to. The Bullish Rippers one is one that I am proud of, and I put a lot of time and effort into. It's the Green Raccoon. They've sponsored this spaces, so if you want to and you could, go and check out what they're doing. I'm a little biased, but I think I post some good tweets there. I love these spaces, every single one of them that we do. The Monday morning one, the start of it takes a little to get going, but we're in the full swing of it. I'm wide awake, and I'm so happy we get to do this. There's really a bunch of people that allow us to create it. All the speakers who come up here, me and Gav talk about this a lot. a lot. We're really here to bring on experts who can give you that information and give you that stuff. Me and Wolf are here to ask the right questions and try and present the right information. But at the end of the day, we rely on super smart people who are experts in this space to come on. And this was another spaces where we were able to get amazing people on. Make sure you follow Stock Talk Weekly. Make sure you follow Richard. Make sure you follow Steven, Sarge. Make sure you're following Gerg, who is up here as well. They're all amazing followers that will make your timeline better, and that will make your spaces experiences better. And then I just wanted to give one more quick shout out. Actually, two more quick shout outs. One more to everyone who came in and listened. You know, these spaces are only worth it because there's people taking value out of them. So I really appreciate you guys coming in here. If there's anything you wish we touched on or could do differently, just send myself or Gav a DM.
Kind of passively. Well, that's not true. I still try to tweet from there at like 100. Well, respond like 100 comments a day, tweet from there a good amount. But yeah, I'm really excited. My goal for this week is to get this Gav account up to 5K. I would love that to happen. Like I said, I'll be hosting 9 more spaces at least, probably more than that. The only reason it's not more than that is because I might be traveling. So I kind of have to build in a little bit of time for that. But everything that you said, I echo these speakers. You know, we are young and early in our trading careers, and we're excited to have these amazing speakers who are so filled with knowledge and willing to impart it for free to the audience. And all that they really ask for is people that engage with them and stuff like along those lines. Also, just in case anybody's curious, I did make one move during this space. I sold, well, first in the very beginning, I sold an Airbnb call that I had from Friday. I think, you know, it probably continued upwards, yeah, but it was probably a good move to get out. And then I just got into AMD, actually, on a little bit of a lightning alert that I had there. So I'm sitting up about 16.
I'm sorry, Sarge, you said something about AMD doing an event. I'm seeing about 10 headlines come out about AMD right now. Are they live on a keynote or something, or there's just so much news right now?
Yeah, I just got an AMD as well as I was trying to request really heavy. I got in the 150 calls right here at the break of 144.33. I got the weekly calls.
I'm in the weekly 150s.
Yep. So I wanted to get on here and tell everybody that manage your own risk. Anything below the 144.51, I'm cutting the trade. That if you look at the 5-minute chart, you see it basing right here at 144.57. My bad. 144.57 is just stop, but I'm locked and loaded. I'm up about 10% already.
Where would you get out of this from a profit perspective?
So I'm looking to take my first scale at 150, and then I'm looking for this to go to 152. And if we go as planned, I'm gonna scale out at 152, and I'm gonna hold the rest overnight.
Wow, baller. Sarge,
So
do you have?
Yeah, go to Sarge. I love that.
Yeah. Listen, that was my favorite thing when wrap up turns into more stock analysis. Sarge, did you have any comments on the AMD stuff?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Jensen Huang and Lisa Su are in a class by themselves in this business. All right. As my target price for AMD, I'm long the stock, and I've been long the stock a while, is really when Lisa Su announces her retirement. That's how long I'll be long this name. This name they have surpassed Intel. They're way ahead of Intel. Their technology is probably second only to NVIDIA at this point, and they're probably even closing that gap. They're competing on every level. The other one to watch is Marvell Technology. All right, they're in the 5G space. They're now in the data center space. That's the sneaky semiconductor stock that nobody's talking about. And I'm talking my own book, so I'm in all three.
So real quick.
Go for it.
Did Juicy left? Ah, damn. I was just going to say, okay, so maybe like Stock Talk Week, I'll go to you for this, and then I'll go back to you, Evan. But so let's say you're in this AMD trade, right? This thing's already up 8.5% today. I got in on the slight dip, so it was up about 8%. How do you go ahead and make sure that, you know, something that you're up on, I'm up on this contract currently 35%, doesn't turn into a losing trade without setting a super tight stop loss where you get, you know, stopped out and can't get that profit?
I mean, yeah, the only way, and if you're not using a stop loss, the only way to do it is just to watch it, right? I mean, again, I don't know how much, you know, intraday time you're putting into watching these trades, but, you know, if you're not letting the computer do the dirty work, as I say, with setting stop losses, then you have to do the dirty work yourself. So that kind of means you have to watch the trade. I don't know specifically what calls you're in, or, you know, you said you're up 8% on them?
No, I'm currently up 43, 44%.
Okay, and you're saying you don't want that trade to go red?
Yes.
I mean, you have a lot of profit cushion there, right? I mean, not a lot, but I mean, 40% is decent. You know, for me, I don't ever let that that happen, especially on short-term trades. The reason I have that rule of never letting a green trade go red is because, if I take a loss on a green trade or a trade that was green, and then I look to re-enter it, obviously you have the wash rule, right? So that partially affects it for me, but it's also just the mentality of, I would rather be up 20% on a trade, get out, up just 5% rather than I would be up 20% on a trade and then take a 5% loss. He's okay.
Totally hear you. Evan, did you have any other comments on the news coming out?
Yeah, so I wanted to quickly. So the reason I brought this up is normally like news flows in one or two stories at a time, normally one story at a time. AMD really had three big stories in the last 20 minutes. The first one that pushed it up, like the initial up to 8% or around there, was a story with Facebook that Facebook is planning to use AMD chips in its data centers. And then around 5 minutes later, another story came out that Microsoft is reportedly planning to use AMD's Milan X chips in Azure, which is Microsoft's cloud business. And then another report came out talking about how AMD is introducing a new GPU for artificial intelligence processing. That was according to Bloomberg, and that one is specifically more targeting some of the chips that NVIDIA has out there. So it was three stories taking on some big names and deals with big companies. So I could see why it's continuing to move a little bit higher after that initial first report.
Well, that's the metaverse, guys. That's NVIDIA, AMD, Microsoft. That's the metaverse. Yeah, Facebook is shaking hands and taking pictures, but these three firms are going to work. What is the future?
Yeah. Just want to say also, somebody always sees this coming or makes very well-educated bets, because I saw this come in on November 3rd, end of day, which I want to say was, Thursday or something like that? Wednesday? Massive call option came in on AMD on the, let's see what the expiration was on these. 11/19. Yeah. Massive sweep, like over $1 million came in on 11/19, and then obviously it continued to come in today. I actually got the alert from Quant Data, which is why I traded it. But literally, as we've been sitting here, in the last 1 minute, there have been almost, oh my God, okay, at 11:29, which was 1 minute ago, a $1.89 million of call. I mean, I don't even want to look at the splits. I just want to look at the sweeps. The sweeps are big too. I see literally just call after call coming in on this. So I'm sitting here, I'm riding it. It's now up 62. No, my call's now up 63%. So I'm just waiting on that. But yeah, really interesting stuff to be able to continue to watch. Okay. With that being said, I think, Evan, are we ready to wrap up? Anything else? Okay.
Just the calendar.
Awesome. Yeah, so just the calendar. Last thing is I'm going to make my way through these DMs. I think I already have about 50 to 100. It's fine. I don't mind. If you want to be on the calendar so you know when all of our spaces are and you can find maybe some opportunities like this, just DM me your email. That is all that you needed to do. If you want to be also on my newsletter and Evan's, our two newsletters, which I'll probably ask you, if you want to be on those, just say, hey, I want to be on the newsletters as well, and we can add you to those. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's free. It is not going to bombard your email inbox. His is more of an analysis style. Mine is more FinTwit style. That is all for today. Thank you so much to the 700 to 1,000 people that tuned in for over 2 hours today. These are really fun. We do them every single Monday morning. And throughout the rest of the mornings of the week, I'm sure you can tune into Stockton Weekly. He's pretty much always live in the mornings, and we'll probably be hopping in on his. So take care, everybody. Have a great rest of your Monday.